been long. Families on the move, same road, same day. But one fast choice can take it all away. Stealing asphalt don't forgive, so we ride smart, so we all can live. On 210, bring us home. Let that highway be a place we roam. Ease that pedal, feel the road again. We all get back when we care on 210. The Coquille winds calling as the sun dips low. Pine Drive glowing in that amber glow. Kids at the crosswalk, neighbors on the bend. Every careful moment is a life we defend. Turn the dial down, let the night roll slow. Hear the heartbeat of the town, you know. This ain't just pavement, it's where we live. And every mile's a chance to give. On 210, bring us home. Slow it down, so we're not alone. Every neighbor, every friend gets home safe when we care on 210.
That being said, I'd like to get into exactly who is the Maryland 210 Traffic Safety Committee. You know, who are the people who make up this committee, and what is it that we have been doing that hopefully that you, hopefully a sense of comfort to know that there are many around you, just ordinary citizens amongst us who are a part of the 9, who are caring enough to do the things that we have done in the last 9 years. We have come into being in September of 2017. We had our first meeting. And since that time, we have been a part of many of the policy changes governing the traffic laws here on Indiana Highway. We were trying to get 6 cameras to go along this highway because we know many of us who are longstanding residents know of the dangers of Indiana Highway back then as it is today. They gave us 1 camera, when we asked for 6. It took until the deaths of the 3 Mejia children in December of 2018 that they gave us 2 additional cameras, they in Annapolis and Passing Walls. It took from 2018 and the deaths that went forth from that point forward, finally we were able to get the 6 cameras that we have here today. The 210 Traffic Safety Committee were the ones who were fighting for these cameras, and through the efforts and the energy and the foresight of Delegate Criswell Arama, which I want to lift up because she was the one that had to go in and be the catalyst to move those policies and bills forward to have what we have now today as the cameras that govern our roadways.
Unfortunately, Acting Major Kobe Wells couldn't make it here today, and we're here to fill in. I know since the recent fatality on 210, we had allotted some hours for overtime just in that particular area to combat speeders and to be an active presence for citizens and everybody there. We know 210 is a major issue, and we're just trying to do our best to maintain it and to prevent any more people from having to unfortunately lose their life due to somebody's actions.
Findings with the Maryland 210 Safety Committee and everyone. You know, in regards to speeding, Maryland 210 is definitely known as one of our roads that experiences some of the worst speeding in the state of Maryland. And in addition to, I would say, engineering and enforcement, which are the two major, E's that everyone thinks about for roadway safety, education is also one of the biggest things. Reverend Dr. Screen talked about some of the speeding that's experienced along Maryland 210, especially in excess of 100 miles an hour. That's a choice. These roads don't naturally make it feel like you can just drive 100 miles an hour. And so, everyone needs to take that upon themselves with your friends and your family. And, education is a big aspect of this. Slowing down increases safety.
Thank you for having me here this evening with all of you. I'm going to go off several points here that when I entered, pardon me for my tardiness, there's been several events taking place this whole day already, and I'm ending it with all of you, thankfully, in a good way. I just want to point out that I look amongst this crowd here, and whether it's your first time to this meeting or not, I encourage you to come up to Annapolis during the session, not just for these meetings. I see the same people, which is great, to come up to Annapolis and testify on behalf of the legislation that's being introduced every year. I will say, Ron, I think it's been seven years or so, that the 210 committee approached me about speed cameras. And I think there's many of you here that hate speed cameras. I don't like them either, let's be honest. But to say that they're just revenue generators is false. The problem is that, as you heard from Reverend Screen, is that people are offending but just ignoring the fines. I don't know if he mentioned it in the first 15 minutes of his remarks when I came in, but there are people who are not paying the fines, and we've been trying to legislate to change those fines. But if he didn't mention it, the people that are recidivist drivers and going 190 and the crazy speed limits that he mentioned to and not paying, or only getting fined $40, I think we can attest that that's a problem. I will say, I mentioned coming up to Annapolis. I did want to correct the record. I'm not going to Congress. I'm just going to the state legislature. So I represent on the state level, not on the congressional level. The history of the legislation that's being introduced over the last close to a decade, I will say. He mentioned that there were two bills that did not move through this session. That is true. We did not get them through, but let me just give you the history. When I first introduced legislation for speed cameras, that was give or take 7 years ago now or so, we started off and asked for 10. Start high, because the committees will cut them down. So we got 6, I think it was 5 or 6, so 6. Well, 1 at first, but 6 to the dismay of a lot of folks in Annapolis. I will mention, I wrote down notes, I can't even read my own handwriting now, but I do want to also, before I get into that history, please understand that in Annapolis, I've been the primary sponsor, and I have my district team who supports, as well as the Senator Muse. While though we introduced this legislation in full support of this legislation, we have to work with 180 total. So besides the 4 of us, there's 144 that we have to convince to support this measure. While it's a local legislation and only on Route 210 in our county, as you know, Charles County also uses this highway. I will say some of the history when it comes to the Charles County colleagues. While we work well together, the sentiment has been overall that it's our folks who offend, which I think is a bit ridiculous. Everybody uses 210, not just Charles County, not just Prince George's County, Virginians, everybody who uses this road. So to say that it's our people that offend is grotesquely incorrect. With that said, even though there were two bills that didn't pass this year, the current committee that these bills go to, first, it starts off in Prince George's County because it's local bills. So it starts off in the local delegation in both the House and the Senate. I can only speak for the House since we don't serve on the Senate side. So as far as the House, as long as we get it out of our delegation, which we have every year, any piece of legislation with regard to 210, I have fought for. Delegate Woods is the chair of the subcommittee in our delegation that moves this legislation forward. It then moves to the House committee, which is the Environment and Transportation Committee. I'm giving this process so you understand all the hoops that we have to jump through to get this bill to fruition. So the bills that have passed over the years have to go to that committee. This committee and the subcommittee that it goes to, which is the Transportation Subcommittee, is infamous for hating any kind of speed enforcement or speed camera legislation. So the fact that we were able to get bills passed over the years, numerous years, is success. So even though a bill didn't pass the first time, the fact that this point-to-point bill that Reverend Screen mentioned, the average speed, the point-to-point legislation, I was able to talk to the chair of this committee, which is Chair Corman, who represents in Montgomery County. He understands our plight, but he also has to understand his members' positions. Again, we have to convince the subcommittee to get it out and get it to the full committee in order for it to get to the House floor for the bill to become fruition. So Chair Corman, while we didn't get point-to-point passed, it is well on the radar of all the subcommittee members and the standing committee members because we have a full hearing and because I come every year with a different piece of legislation. So they're well aware of the issue that we have here in 210. They're well aware, if none of you here are aware, that nationally, AAA, 210 is known as the highway of death. So every year we come to Annapolis and we fight for this legislation. Point to point, prayerfully, we will get through this upcoming session, as long as we're back there to fight for it. I will say that. Also, I wanted to let you know, it's not just about us, the legislators who work with our colleagues and the chairs. It helps for all of you to lobby, not just us. If they hear from our constituents and hear the plight and hear the importance of why we need to move this measure, it plays a very big role. You may not believe so, but it does. And while I've represented you for quite some time, and it is my only honor to do so, they know me up there where I may be some 5'1" little Asian, but I'm spicy. I'll get their ear, and they know that 210 is on my mind, and for all of us here in District 26. So I'd also like to mention that when we do finally get legislation out of our House floor, it then goes to the Senate, where Senator Muse happens to serve on the sister committee of where this bill would go, which would be the Judicial Proceedings Committee. He's not here this evening, he had another encounter, so he sends his regrets, but he has been fighting to get this bill out. He was not able to get it out, only because the membership of his committee really hates this legislation and anything associated with it. You can rest assured that the chair of that committee, Chair Will Smith from Montgomery County, has had my ear all the time as well. So they understand what we're trying to do down here. It is not a revenue generator. It does work, and hopefully, if many of you can also lobby on our behalf, that would be helpful. I will mention also, I went through my notes, so that's good. I wanted to hit all those highlights because it's imperative that you understand the process that it has to go through when we're up there. So while we may only have 6 cameras, our goal is, if Reverend Screen did not mention it, the point-to-point system that works, it is to replace the cameras that are there. Because we have 6 cameras already in place, it's technology that would take that place. So we're not adding, we're just implementing and improvising, modernizing how we would catch the offenders. Just so you know, I've had several of you come up to me over the time saying, well, why don't you just get rid of their driver's license? I would be happy to do that, but MVA did not like that. So again, it's not just us who want what we want. We have to work with SHA, we have to work with MVA in order to appease everyone and come to compromise and negotiations. So the next step was registration. I think that's a good step in the right direction. If we can't go for their licenses, we'll go for registration. So I feel like I've rambled on, but I'm happy to take questions whether now or later, okay, a little later. But I think I covered everything that I want to cover as far as 210 and the law enforcement and speed enforcement and what's to come and to continue this fight for 210. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we have Delegate Jamila Woods. Now you talk about a fighter. Yeah. You're these.
this opportunity to come before you. I did not want to go, just to reiterate everything that my colleagues said. I do serve as the chair of the Law Enforcement Subcommittee for Prince George's County, where this bill comes through on the delegation. I want you to know that we fought. We fought down to the wire, literally, to try to get this pilot program done for the point-to-point system. The one thing I do want to reiterate is the importance of you being present in Annapolis when we are fighting for this legislation. It makes a difference. When I say you, I'm talking from you as average citizens, I'm talking law enforcement, I'm talking everyone. As my colleague stated, as the chair of the Law Enforcement Committee, I literally had to fight with members of my own committee, like I said, literally down to the wire to just get this out of our committee. And so we have to understand that there are other forces that really do feel like this is a funding. This is a way that people are trying to generate funds. And I don't understand how they say that, you know, certain, you were bolder than I am, and you were bolder than I am, or certain counties that believe that, you know, we're doing this to try to raise money for Prince George's counties, as if a speed camera can tell what county you live in. Have you all ever heard of that? As if an officer can tell what county you live in. You understand what I'm saying when they see you speeding? So we have to recognize that this is an issue that impacts us all. One of the things, and I don't know, and I apologize also for my tardiness, this was my 5th meeting since 12 noon today. But so I don't know if you stated it, why 210 has the challenges. Did you talk about that? So a lot of people ask, well, why is 210 the highway of death? You know, why is it this highway has this many challenges? It's because when 210 was first created, it was created as a temporary roadway. It was never created to be a state highway. And so when it was created almost in a straight line. And because it's created in a straight line, it is something that a lot of people who want to take advantage of racing will utilize. And so people will say, well, why can't you change it? That would so far exceeds our budget. It would be impossible, literally, for us to adequately make 210 the highway that it should be to assure our safety. All highways have curves and turns and all of that, and those, what a lot of people may not recognize, are specifically so that we can relieve some of those challenges of people who are taking advantage of speeding options. Some of you may also know there were things put up to block transportation to prevent people from merging into lanes and to jumping out, and folks just ride over them. They just run into them, ride over them, you know. And so I want you to know, as legislators, especially in District 26, and I was a freshman in this legislative session, but as soon as I jumped on, as soon as I got elected, I got very much involved in this work along with my colleague, and so I have been committed to making this happen. Chris has been such a phenomenal mentor and such, you know, she provides so much rich information, but I have to say to you, we need you. We need your testimonies. We need, listen, time in Annapolis versus losing a loved one, it's no issue for me. I want to be there. I want to take the time. You know, I want to sit in those committee meetings. Sometimes we're in those meetings for 7, 8, 10, 12, or more hours, literally. But I need you there. We need you there. The 210 Traffic Safety Committee needs you there because your lived experience, your testimony, whatever you can offer is extremely important. And the thing is, you don't even have to come to Annapolis anymore. One of the very few things that COVID did was give us an opportunity to virtually testify. And so one of the very, very few things. And so if you can't come and spend the day in Annapolis with us, please submit your virtual testimony. Submit your written testimony. Believe me, it makes a difference. The more people who are involved, I'm not going to take you any longer.
Email.
You can email the testimony, yes, okay. If you have any further questions, please, my colleague and I are ready, willing, and able to accept them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was good. We have representation from Edward Burroughs' office, District 8, so Mark Hamilton, a few words.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm Mark Hamilton, Director of Constituent Outreach for Councilmember Edward Burroughs. This issue of 210 is very important to us, even though it's handled mostly by the state. It's very important to us, not only the safety, but also there's litter, there's different things that are going on in 210, and we're trying to solve it. So thank you for having me, and I will be here.
Thank you, thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we want to hear from you. We have this podium here. Yes, sir, come right on up here.
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah, well, come right up here. We want,
Number one, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of the work that you and Ron have done and the committee in Acton in the many years. You're to be applauded. And we thank you. We thank you. And I thank you.
thank you.
I've heard a lot about cameras. Now, cameras are part of the solution, but they're not the total solution. Maryland has a tremendous amount of violators, unregistered vehicles, people that are driving with plates, particularly with Virginia tags on it, as you mentioned. And you also mentioned that Maryland.
So I'm aware of the petitions to do the complaint as well as the penalty. My question is, how do we as citizens get more presence on 210 with RPG County? Do we need to contact, this is our tax dollars, who do we need to contact? Who do we do a petition for? What do we need to do to get 6 officers on 210? Is it certain?
I'll try my best to answer that, okay? I'm not at the highest level of decision making, but
my name is Lieutenant James Martinez, and I'm from District 4. We were responsible for 210 once it gets towards the Oxon Hill corridor. So I'm only speaking on behalf of District 4, though I would imagine District 7 is very similar. I think one of the most effective ways is to reach directly out to the commander, which would be the major. Maybe just a simple email or a phone call stating why you would need these resources. The police are very responsive to community input and feedback. So if enforcement is something that you would like to see more of, then we can advocate, once we have some of that feedback from the community members, to ask for more funds for the county for these specific purposes. And although we do have budget limitations, when you can show a need or some type of desire for something, the commanders are very apt at making this happen. Officers want to be the police. We want to be out there doing enforcement. With that being said, there are some limitations or challenges. Just aggressive enforcement will be met with some constitutional issues. We don't want to just open the floodgates and have officers, going full speed. We want some type of restraint in the approach when we're asking for enforcement, specifically from the commander level. If you have speeders who are determined to break the law, most likely they are not going to stop. And then that brings our pursuit policy into play. We don't want innocent people hurt while we are trying to apprehend these offenders. So I would like everyone to keep that in mind as well. If it was up to us, I think we would always go the maximum effort to apprehend these individuals. But we care just as much about the safety as the rest of the community members when we are out here doing enforcement, and as well as the officers. If an officer gets in an accident, that's a cruiser that's down. And the county has a limitation. It's not an endless budget. Right now we are doing the best with what we have. If an officer gets injured, that's another officer that's not on the streets. So these issues can be exacerbated by simple things, and based on our current staffing levels, they could heighten some of the issues that we have. But reaching out to the commander, stating what efforts you need, that would most likely get filtered down to someone like me. And it's as simple as me directing my troops to focus on an area and try to provide some more presence, seeing us out there doing stops, even speaking with community members so you can hear why we're doing and what we're doing to try and combat some of your concerns. Hopefully that's helpful.
I appreciate your question. Let me just start off. My name is Jim Clay. I'm the Deputy Chief of the Border Patrol. I maintain our 8 police districts throughout the county. I did have the honor to work with Pastor Robertson, Ron Weiss, the Browns, and many other people when I was the acting major for District 7. So I do know all about 210. I was the commander of our Special Operations Division for several years. Those are the traffic officers on the end. They investigate all our fatal collisions. So I know a little bit about 210. When I came down to District 7, the first thing I did is I hooked up with the Maryland State Police and we started doing operations together, right? Very good. A lot of stats, a lot of tickets, overweight trucks, cars speeding, you name it, we got it. Because we have a memorandum of understanding with the Maryland State Police, the county police is responsible for 210. Just like many other state highways in Prince George's County, the Prince George's County Police Department is the primary law enforcement provider for those roads. But I will say this, every time we ask the Maryland State Police to join in any operation, they always do so. All right? Back in December of this year, I pulled officers from every patrol district in the county. We came down to 210 and we did enforcement. It was right before the holidays. All right? We'll be planning another one. But somebody said we are short, we're 350 officers short from our all-time high. We're maintaining that level right now. Chief Nader has done a great job with recruiting. We're averaging about 50 officers for every class. He wants to have 3 classes every year. But it is a problem. I got to thank all our delegates, our elected officials that are here, because sir, you're right. Speed cameras are only one part of the everybody said solution. But I can tell you this, Chief Nader and the executive team of the police department, every Monday we look at crime, we look at fatal collisions, we look at serious car accidents, and that's how we do our enforcement. Our Special Operations Division has been down here on numerous occasions doing enforcement. So I hope that answers your question. It's probably not what you wanted to hear with the Maryland State Police, but we do have a memorandum of understanding, which was written probably 20, 30 years ago, but we are responsible for many state roads in Prince George's County. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, let's go ahead. Yes, if you have some questions, please, right here, we'd rather you come here at the podium and just get right here and just, every question, any comments, go ahead.
So when you come with your questions, though, let's keep in mind, as many of us here, we all want to go home at some point. We all are passionate about what's going on. So let's try to be concise and keep, and get to the point. Well, I'd just like to give a little context to my question. Thank you for holding this forum. It's a very critical forum, and it can be addressed on a number of levels. The data that you shared tonight, which is really sobering for me, it suggests that enforcement measures alone, such as additional tickets and cameras, etc., they have limited effectiveness in reducing speeding and traffic fatalities over the long term. And if our goal is safer roads, we should also be examining broader transportation solutions that reduce the number of vehicles on the road altogether. So for many residents in our community, expanded transit options remain an unmet promise. The Blue Line Metro extension was discussed more than 40 years ago. Yet the benefits of enhanced transit access and economic development, reduced congestion and all that, it went to the north. So, rather than focusing solely on punitive measures, perhaps the more important question is, what are we doing to secure the transportation investments and transit infrastructure that will promise to our communities and that can deliver lasting safety and quality of life benefits.
Good question. And here's my best answer to that is that we can only control what we can control. And we from the very time that we were accepted as a group, we understood that enforcement measures was only a part of the pie, a solution. We understand that. You know, we spend most of our time here talking about enforcement, ticket citations, that so forth and so on. Because right now, in terms of, we all know that this county, budget crisis, money going towards transportation, it's just something it's a part of the problem. And when we got that $125 million overpass that we got here, back here in 2022, October 8th, that we got that over in Kirby Hill Road, we were supposed to have had 5 overpasses by now. This initiative started way back here in the 1980s. But people did not fight for the funding. All of it, I know, because I followed the process of what happened. All of the plans were drawn up for the overpasses. There was 3 plans for this area. Either HOV lanes, subway, rail, or overpass. Those are the 3 things. They settled on the overpasses. The overpasses were supposed to go from where the one we have, Kirby Hill Road, all the way down to Old Fort Road, south. Nobody fought for the funding. So these things just evaporated. So we just don't have that opportunity now.
But they found money for Brookline.
Well, they find money for whatever they want. So we understand there's politics and those things involved, but what we're trying to do.
For those who have questions about the interchange project and the modifications to 210, there's a meeting on June the 10th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Harmony Hall. You'll find out what happened to the money. It actually went to the nice bridge on 301. I'm Tanya Sweat, by the way, and I live here in Mackie, and I'm just as concerned about what's happening on 210 as anybody else. But I object to adding more cameras or amending the law around the cameras. Cameras do not deter speeders. And Reverend Screen, I want to thank you because your presentation proved that. You made the case for this 29-year lawyer who started her career as a prosecutor prosecuting traffic enforcement violations. That's the only way you're going to stop it. Until we get our police involved and get them to stop these cars, identify the driver, write a ticket, make them come to court, charge them the points against their driver's license, and take the license from them. We will not get a state 210 highway. The MOU that we once had no longer exists because of trustworthiness issues between Prince George's County and the Maryland State Police. That needs to be rectified. And I'm tired of us lying to the citizens in Akankee and Southern Prince George's County about what's really going on. Public safety is the second highest bucket in this county's budget. But we don't have enough police to do traffic enforcement. People are dying. People are reckless. I want to know, since everybody's advocating for these cameras, where is the money going? Because we still have a deficit in our county budget. If we're collecting money from cameras, even if we don't collect it all, we should collect enough to hire more police. But that ain't showing up in the budget. So if it's not a revenue producer, what are the cameras doing? They're not saving lives. They're not slowing people down. They're not stopping the reckless driving. And taking my car when my child was driving is unconstitutional and unfair. So if we're not going to protect the rights of all citizens, even the owners of the vehicles who might not be violating the law, what are we doing?
In my church,
after a statement like what I just heard, that would be worth a hallelujah. And thank God somebody's up here telling the truth, right? But I do have one point that I feel has not been addressed, and I don't know why we're not talking about it. And that is, these are people and vehicles that are creating the danger on the road. What are we doing to remove the vehicle from the person? All right? Now, when I came to this area many years ago, I was riding Metro trying to get to work. I couldn't find a parking place, and I parked the car in a hotel parking lot because it was next door to the Metro station. It was over in Phoenix. Came back home that day, came back from work that day to get my car and drive home, and it wasn't there. Okay. So you know what happened? Why can't these people that are driving 40, 50, 60, 70 miles over the speed limit have their cars towed? Take them off the road. These are the people that kill folks. If they're using a gun, you take the gun. But they're using the car. Those cars need to be towed. When you do without your car for 2 or 3 weeks, it changes your mind. It changes your thought process.
Thank you, sir.
At one time, we tried very hard to do education of our people using our schools and students. We had a campaign. We went to every school on a continual basis to start the process of changing behavior. Kids will make a difference quicker than I will. You listen to your child before you listen to another adult when it comes to some of this stuff. Safety is paramount. However, we let it run rampant. We forget it. We let it go. Talked about when we have meetings, this place is overcrowded at this point. Folks standing outside, but we don't have it. People are hiding behind Zoom. You don't know who they are, but they won't answer up to when you respond to them. We ask about enforcement, but we need to be in, like we're sitting here, legislation, whatever meeting they have, we need to have a bus in those seats. That's where the difference starts. The lawmakers. We here at Albuquerque, Prince George's County, been fighting with Charles County because they thought that every ticket given their folks, they were singled out. Stupid, how can that be? How would I know who you are? The camera just gets the car going by. But that's how we push back because we, Prince George's County, don't show up when we have these meetings. Right all day long to yourself does no good. You need to show up and be accountable for it. Thank you.
How you doing, sir?
Okay.
How's everyone doing tonight? My name is Tom Stanikowski. I'm the Prince George County Police Department, part of our special operations and traffic enforcement section. Like I said, we're out here every week, so we're on 210. And if you are getting figured out our warrants, we will cite you if you get stopped. Where we need help is, it's not just us. We also need help with our courts. Okay? We had 4 cases today. If we're catching somebody violating 200+. Judges don't give them points. Judges will rule fines. It's not just us. We are out here to cite these people. But this is where they need to help you guys go to the court system and be like, hey, we're citing these people. A lot of them are the younger generation drivers now. That means you educate. The new law states, as of October last year, is 30 miles over the speed limit is considered reckless. You can't go to jail for 60 days now. A lot of people are still not aware of that. But we are out here. Patrol is out here with us as well. I know they are. We do a lot of stuff with that.
Thank you.
I'm not a native of Maryland, I'm from Connecticut. Connecticut is known as the Constitution State. Our Constitution was based upon the Charter Oak of Connecticut. But there's some things that the state of Connecticut has done in education, and I'm going to address education. It was a requirement statewide that all individuals in the high school must take driver A through the school. Not your father, not your mother, not the guy next door, but through a trained driving instructor. There was also a requirement that all students of driver education must sit and watch a movie. And some of you old folks like me would remember Speed Kills. And that movie shows the consequences of speeding accidents. And no matter how gruesome it was, they were required to watch it, or they wouldn't get their license. Maybe that should be included at a state level, that driver education should be a required course at school level. I saw it, and I drive up 210. Matter of fact, I have to come out of Pine Drive every day. And I go 55, maybe I go a little higher. But I can make it from my area up to 495 in less than 20 minutes by going to speed. It's education that's got to be enforced. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Make mine real quick. I'm not trying to pretend. I live on the other side of Acton Street near Brandywine. We have an issue going over there, and we call that Death Row. If you all don't do something, it's just gonna keep moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. We have people going through our community at 82 miles an hour. And I have kids that live in the community, there's 78 kids that I'm responsible for because I'm the HOA president, and 250 homes. We've got to do better because the cameras are not working. And people pushing for the metro, I used to be a police. Trains are nothing but an easy way in and a fast way out. You can rob me and jump on the metro and be gone. And if so much is going on down here and nothing with the roads, why do you all keep allowing all of this overdevelopment? Because that's the problem. You're bringing all of these people out and you don't have the roads. And you can't expect the police to do it all by themselves. And like you said, we need to help. My grandmother used to tell me, if you don't stand up for something, you'll fall for anything. And we're falling for the bull crap. And we need to stand up and hold these politicians that we vote in accountable for. That's what we need to do. Because I'm tired of arguing. And Victoria, if it wasn't for Victoria Blackwell, we wouldn't have any kind of speed enforcement in our community. Because she's been helping us out, and I've been complaining about this, and I don't want to get a call saying that somebody's child got hit by a car. We can't even walk the street in our community, and Lakeview is a beautiful community, but we can't walk through because people are speeding through and don't have any consideration. So if we want to get the police on the road, we got to help the police out and stop being afraid to say, if you see a car with a tag number, say it. Because when I call the police, I tell them, give them my name. And I'll say, I don't care, but we have got to stop. And if we don't stop it, it's going to move from 210 all the way down by West Reading. We are so overdeveloped down there, and we don't have the schools, we don't have the roads, and we don't have the stores to support. Everybody don't eat chicken. We want to wear it, we want the whole thing, we want all of that. And we want these police in our these guys can't do it by themselves. So please, we gotta extend the pass, and I sympathize with you. Now I understand why you all can't come to Lakeview, because you're fighting this problem out here, and it's a serious problem. But if you don't come over there where we are, off of West Brandywine, all the way over there going down the water, you are gonna have another 210. And that's what's gonna happen. It's awful down here. And I live, like I said, we live in a beautiful community. We can't even cross the street to go on the other side of the road. It makes no sense. And I'd like to say thank you to these guys, and I would really want to owe you all an apology, because I've been really giving police the blues, because it takes 50 minutes for the police to get to our community. And now I understand why. But if we don't get some kind of support, we're gonna have another 210 over there where we live at. Because now they're putting 155 houses across the street from us, and 955 down the road. Somebody need to hold these people accountable. Make this real quick. We have enforcement cameras when you get past, just before you get to the Swan Creek. But once you pass that area, coming back up to 10, towards Palm Road, in that area, there is no enforcement there. I'm looking at all the officers, and I don't see one from District 4. We need this.
I'm here on behalf of Major Key.
You must be here, you must really make nights there, because I noticed that I sit on the Citizen Advisory Council, so I never feel these, so this is the first time. But I'm just saying, we need enforcement on that half of 210 as well. Another issue is on the overpass. 2 weeks ago, I almost had a head on, going up the ramp, for elderly lady, coming down, and I laid on my horn. We need some markings in that area. The lights are now out. There's been a lot of head-on crashes. And I'm also gonna say the other thing is too, yes, speed does kill, but also traffic enforcement. At Kirby, and just when you go to Kirby Hill, down all the traffic comes through, there's a house up there that has been running to, on that same ramp. So that ramp needs to be marked. So that's, I really want you to look at marking that ramp. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, evening, everyone. Thank you for holding this meeting as well. I actually am on the Charles County side, and I'm glad to hear you all mention the things that you're mentioning, because we as citizens, we don't get these meetings on our end. So we have to come across the line to get the information, because our delegation isn't showing up the way that you all are. And because it is election season, I want to know who the elected officials are that are not supporting this narrative that you guys are pushing forward. We want to know who their names are, because I know it's about 3 of them, and then more are getting reelected, but I know I'm not trying to be confrontational, but I want to be informed, and I want our citizens to be informed, because I gathered the people to push the initiative towards change, because we weren't being heard, we weren't being considered when it came to voicing our concerns about things. And there's more development coming. I believe we were just before the commissioners the week before last, development called Atomic Chase, that is right there on the Accokeek line and the Charles County line. And Prince George's County didn't want anything to do with the zoning required that this developer was trying to get, and they wanted to push it over to Charles County to handle it. Now, mind you, this is a lot of houses that are coming. That was a part of a docket 90 type of dynamic. But more housing, more development, and all the more people that are being approved to come out here. I agree with the other person when she said that's where a lot of the speed and the traffic is coming from. You know, and there's no consideration of us citizens who are saying we chose to live in a rural country area because that's what we chose. We made the sacrifice to come and live out in an area that's quiet and peaceful, but then we end up in a raceway. So I want to know who those delegates are that are not enforcing the guidelines and the requirements and supporting you all in your narrative and your vision, because I'm going to let the citizens of Charles County know, because that's what we do. we come together. And also, who are the judges that's not willing to issue the points and bring forth the necessary enforcement as well? Because it's election season, and we got work to do. Primaries are coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we need to take the action that we need to take to get the change that we want.
Are you gonna answer her question? No, is anyone gonna answer her question? What delegates?
Who are the people we complain? I get it. I'm not gonna publish it, but I can say two first, you would like me to discuss it after.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to give you the names, but you can also look it up, but I'm happy to do it.
So, hello, I moved here in the last year into the return to office. Those people lived over here didn't really live here, but we chose the most rural place we could live, which is Brandywine. We're actually closer to Dayton. I'm actually not in this district, I believe, but I work in this district. So I have to drive 381, 373, because Waldorf is insane, by the way, and 210 to go to Indian Head to go to work. So I first want to mention the speeding issue is actually even on back roads. It is not just 210, it's not just 5, it's not 301. I live on 381 and I can't even walk on that road. People speed like 70 miles per hour in an agricultural area that I live in. But what I want to know as a citizen of this area, what can I do to help with this issue? Because that's why I came. I am so concerned about what I've seen in this area. I am scared to death, but I don't know what to do.
I wanted to get a response from you, and I think we have done that, in that we're getting passion. We're getting people who feel that something needs to be done, and they want to have something done about it. I think we got, young lady, did you have something you want to say?
Yes. So I definitely want to double click on that. What can we do? But to your point, I hear.
Okay.
To your point, I hear we need to go to Annapolis, but details like what website we need to stay on top of, when these sessions are. You have a group here that is obviously concerned. So sharing this kind of information for us to be able to stay on top of things is gonna be like the way to capitalize on this crowd, right? And then we mentioned how do we move forward in maybe learning how to, like who we need to write to, who do we need to legislate, and find out who's not voting for these things to move forward through the committees. I would love for you to share names so we can lobby these people as well.
Yes. Yes. Let me say this in answering some of the questions that have been brought up here. Number one, you've done the first thing right now, and that is come to this meeting. You took the first step because you were concerned enough to come here. No. I come from a generation where it used to be, a child going to the cookie jar, you get the hand slapped. Right? Going to solve this problem alone. This is a character problem of behavior where people choose for 2 years and you still running through it. We've got something that's bone marrow deep. I'm going to get used across the world. It has been shown across the world in other areas on this planet that it has moved citations down from 50 to 70%. Now here's the problem. It's not about catching the people. It's about having the people to account for that. And that way the payment system has to be addressed as well. Yes, and all emphasis is a very liberal state. And when you go into Annapolis to try to get something done, the first thing you're going to hear is people's rights. But what about your life? Does that count too? And we have to fight through that barrier every single time. I'm all about people's rights. I know we have a history when we don't have rights. But I've also read over a lot of bodies where people have abused the rights of what they have. And that's what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with people who have abused rights. It's a choice to go 100 miles an hour on 55-mile-per-hour roadway. We all have been educated through driver's education. We've all have taken the test to know what you're supposed to do on the road and not supposed to do.
From Oxon Hill down to Echo Keek, families roll through every day of the week. One wrong move on the 210 line, and a lifetime changes in a blink of time. On 210, bring us home. Slow it down, don't ride alone. Every neighbor, every friend gets home safe when we care on 210. Pine Drive lights up in the evening glow. Kids cross there, take it slow. This highway's ours, let the message spread. We save lives by how we tread on 210. On 210, bring us home. Bring us home. Slow it down, slow it down. Don't ride alone. Don't ride alone. Every neighbor, every friend gets home safe when we care on 210. Take your foot off the rush, let the whole road breathe with us. If we watch out one by one, everybody gets home safe when the day is done. On 210, bring us home. Slow it down. Don't ride alone. Every neighbor, every friend gets home safe when we care on 210.
Of the fine structure that we have here today. It used to be that $40 was the, no matter how fast you were going on any highway,